Let's start creating a model. So according to Ng Bootstrap, whenever we need to create a model, we need to provide and we need to make use of its modules. So these modules we need to import first of all. So let's just say what these modules are. Firstly, we need model response. We're going to be importing some modules from Ng Bootstrap. So let me just put that here first. Now let's just import model dismiss reason. We're also going to be making use of these. For now, just follow along and I'll explain how these work together. Calendar and Ng model config. So let's just import these. After importing, let's just quickly go back to the HTML page and start creating methods for it. But before that, let's just quickly go back to Chrome and see what exactly we are trying to build. So here, as you see, we have 4 buttons down below. So these 4 buttons, if you select any of the HGrid record, you can actually see the record in total. You can also delete it, clear selection and things like that. In order to build these 4 buttons, we are going to be making use of, again, as I said, Ng Bootstrap. So let's go back to VS Code and start coding for these buttons first, and then we will integrate that with HGrid and Ng Bootstrap model. Let's just create a div first and create 4 buttons. And also let me open the CSS file over here. I think we already have a classes created here. I'm just going to be putting the class as is. And button success is a bootstrap class that displays the button in the green color, and if you want to make it as light, it will display that in the grayish color as we had seen previously. In order for it to appear red, the class is button danger, and then in case of it to appear for the info, let's just make it as button info and add a class over here. The class name is button. All these classes and the entire code is available in my GitHub repository. You're most welcome to download it and play around with it. And in case if you want to take a reference, if you're stuck, please don't hesitate to use it for your reference. So I'm also going to be making name. First is going to be for add student. Second one is for view students. The third is for delete student. The fourth is for clear selection. Just close it properly. And I think we have created the button successfully. Now let me just remove this like this. And I think I also need to put this inside a class, which is make a div first. I'm going to be putting it as students tree. And let's just put this entire thing inside it. Yeah. Now we're going to be creating template for our model. The first template is for students form. So here in this template, we're going to be defining a form exactly. So how do we define a form? A reactive form. So let's just start with the form directive. Let's just start with the form element. Inside a form, we're going to be making multiple divs. Right, so let's make first div. Sorry. This is going to be a full name, and now this full name gonna have an input. That input I'm going to be defining inside a div and a span. Let's just define a label first. So label gonna read name, and then the input is input. Let's just define form control. I'll tell you how it works, and we're gonna be making it as type text. And placeholder first name, and then the class from Bootstrap for defining a form control is form control. So this is basically a Bootstrap class. So let me just define that as well. Okay, so now since we have defined the form right at the top, so inside this, whenever we define an input, as we have also written a getter, so I could have simply written the form control name over here, but then it's good to define it in a form. And I want to keep this structure as simple as it can be so that you all can understand. I have defined it like this. So the first form, the name, is going to be the name control. So I'm just going to be copying and putting this here. So now we have a form, the first element, which is a full name. So let me also define the classes. So these classes are already available in my SCSS file, and I'm not going to be spending much time on explaining how these classes work. I would request you to please go to my GitHub repository and download this class and put it right here. However, it is important for you to see how a template and a form is designed, and that is why we are designing the HTML form at this moment. So let me define these classes, which I've already defined in the SCSS file. So the first one is basically for a form. So form is student entry form. This gonna have a name, form row. So let's just copy this. After that, I'm going to be defining another div, a class in here. This is essentially an input section. Let me write this. This span is also part of a form group class. This span is also part of a form controller form group. The class that it will hold is form group. We have defined the label, but we also need to define the ID and for attribute for this. So it's going to be for, let's define it as name, define the ID as name. Before we go further, let me also define the name of this ng template. So it's going to be students form, and this is basically a mandate from Ng Bootstrap to define it as a model like this. So now we have defined a basic form with just one input and buttons. So let me quickly write down handler for these buttons and also try to see a one-liner form at this moment and see how it works. At this moment, I'm going to be opening it. I'm going to be putting a handler for add student. Let's just make it like this. Make a function called open. And then in this open function, I'm going to be passing a template name, which is students form. Essentially the template that I'm going to be passing in this open method. So here in your TS file, you have to come down to this point and define this method. So here I'm receiving a template from the HTML. Make it any for now. Now we are also going to be injecting a dependency in our constructor. So this dependency is a model service dependency. So this model service is provided by Ng Bootstrap. And in order for you to open a model within your app, you actually need to inject that first and then make use of it. So let's inject this first and make it a model service. And we have already imported the model service in the top. This ngb model is going to be is going to be creating an instance of model service. Let's just define it like this. And now let's just use this model service dot open, and we are going to be providing content that we are going to be opening inside. First argument in this is content, and the other second argument is the options. And I don't think so we need to provide the options at the moment. I'm just leaving the options as is and put a result method, and then I need to handle this promise. How do we handle this? There are two callback functions we are going to be providing inside it. So the first callback function is for the result, the other is the reason. In case if you close the model, reason would be called, which is the second callback function. In case if you close it with a legitimate way and close it, if you dismiss it, if you close it, the first callback function will be called, in which you can write down logic for closing. In case if you dismiss it by pressing an escape or by by clicking on the close button on the top, it's going to be calling the second callback, which is the reason callback. Okay, so there is no console error at this moment. So let us just define a few other properties over here, and then let us just define a few other input elements of a form, and then we will go back to we will go back to Chrome and check how our application looks so far. So one is, we have just defined the one input box, and let's just define the other one. It's going to be, this is all going to be 14 in number in total. So the next one is for origin. The classes and the structure of the form would remain as is. So in this case, I'm going to be putting two inputs for the origin tag. So what are those two inputs? The first one is going to be the country. The other one is going to be the state. So let me define that now. Just copy this and put it twice. And I'll make it as country. The other one is state. In case if I'm defining a country, the form control name that I need to define inside is country control. So here is country control. The other one is is state control. The third element in this, the third input element row is gonna be for declaration. Let's just change this. And for the declaration, I need two declaration, the passport declaration and a fitness declaration. Let me just change the name of these two as well. First is, let's just change the name of the control first. The first is the passport. The other is a fitness. The next row I'm going to be making is for course name. Let's just put a course name here. And then course name also going to have two entries. The first is going to be the course name itself, and the second is the subject. Let's just put this here. And the first is going to be the course name control. Then the second is going to be the subject's control. The birth date, roll up, and enter here. Or rather, I'll just copy it as is from here. Now this birth date is all. Delete everything in there. For this section, I'm going to be putting in another div. Let's put it closing div. Now, in this div, I'm going to be putting an input. Now, in this input, I'm going to be putting a form control. Right. That class. Let's put a placeholder for this is as 4 times y mem and dd. That's the format which we will accept. And then here's the thing. So now we are going to be putting a directive name called ngb date picker. So ngb date picker directive will be responsible to hydrate this input with an calendar and other bootstrap related elements that are required to be shown in case of a date picker. Then let's just make it a footer as well. So here I'm going to be putting a footer template, and this footer template we will define in a moment. Like that. For now, let's just hold on for now. We will define that towards the end. So footer template, let's just define this right here. After this div, I think we define another template, and then let's name it as template. This footer template, I'm going to be displaying a horizontal line, and then along with the horizontal line, two buttons. Let's just make two buttons. These two buttons will be holding a class like this. This will display today, and then on click, we will bind a click event like this, model equals to today. We will define these properties in a moment, and then let's just, if a model, if a today is clicked, then the date would be set to today, and then we are going to be closing the template, right? So let's just write this code, colon here, and then bind it with click event. Now something similar we are going to be doing for the close. So copy this entire stuff here, then here at the level of click, let's just put d dot close only. Let's just remove this, and now let's put a closing tag here, and then let's just put class as we have defined the footer template. I put the footer template over here. Let's just define the form control as well. So this is going to be for birth date. So date of birth rather. Date control. So let's just put the date control over here. Let's define, since it's again a part of form control, so the class that we need is form control. Now we are also going to be declaring this as D, and the same D is used below in closing the model. So the D over here is going to be basically a template name, and this is, and here at the D name we're going to be putting GB date pickup. Just put another button over here for toggling purpose. So button and some classes. Let's just find the click event to dot toggle. Now here we're going to be putting a class name as input group. Okay, now if you look at, if you hover over it, you would notice that the error being shown here is footer template isn't a known property of input. So this error comes if you do not have a required module imported in your module. In this case, as student record is going to be part of the dashboard module, the dashboard module needs to have this ngb date picker module. ngb date picker module. So here you have Bootstrap. Let's just put another one. Let's import this here right after. Let's just put a model, also declare a model property component. So let's go to the students record component and define a model property as ngb date struct. So go here, define model. So this model is going to be holding the date structure of ngb date, right? So it's going to be this ngb date structure. So let's just initialize the model as shebang colon ngb date struct. Reason, if you notice here, the reason why I have given an exclamation mark here is that if you're not declaring a You're not putting any value in the variable that you declare inside the class right then or in the constructor. You will have to put this, which means it waits until it tells Angular compiler that this value will be assigned a little while later. In our case, we are going to be assigning it from the template as shown here in the footer template, right? Modules probably we need to import in order to fix the errors. There we have done the date picker. Now we're going to be doing the ngb here. So ngb model. But we are also going to be making use of model, display the form. Now, beg your pardon. Yes, let's just put the module name correctly over here and this here. And also we are going to be putting a type ahead and ngb pagination module because we're going to be displaying, we're also going to be putting a type ahead module, which is also a dependency. Put that in your imports. Right after this, save it. And I think all the errors that we had here are gone. The only error we have is the today, and this is what we're going to be declaring now. So let's just quickly go back to the component ts file, and here we'll be declaring today. Today essentially we're going to be declaring it for the date, for the current date. So today, as we are declaring it right here, we don't need the exclamation mark post today variable declaration. Is not we need today. So today is going to be declared or going to be holding today's value. So in order to declare it with today's value, we also need to import another dependency inside the constructor. So that's going to be ngb calendar. So this ngb calendar will hold some functions. One of it is declaring a date for today. Let's just declare it. Copy this. Go up over here. Today. And with this, have all the problems gone. So today we have declared the model. We have also declared a form to an extent. We are also now going to be building and putting other form elements together and making use of other form control. Let's just start that again. So after this button, I'm going to be putting in another div. Inside that div, I'm going to be displaying what date has been selected. Let's just put another div over here. Declare it with the class as, and inside this I'm going to be making a span. This span will hold a condition. So this star ngf, the way of writing the condition, the older template, however it works in Angular latest as well. However, if you like, you can make use of it if statement inside the template, the form control or date. So here we are going to be putting value, and if the value has a year, then you're going to be displaying the year selected. So how will we show it? We'll put date control dot value dot year. It's just for the selected year, nothing more. So no errors here at the console as well. Now let's just build the other elements. form. Going to be in a row. And now we will wait for present address. Here are div. Now we will be displaying another div inside this. This div will hold a class as student entry form row input address. Put this. Now let's declare a span inside it. This span will have a class as form group. Just closing quote here. Now here I'm going to be putting a label. This label will have street address and an input. Put a form control name in it, which is the street control. And this is going to be of type text. Class it'll have is form control again. Let's just put a label as placeholder as street address. Let me just expand this a little bit more that we all can see it clearly. And now we have defined it for a street address. Now I'm going to be putting another span which will display the address too. I just copy this, paste it one time. It has address. Make this as just to cut. Let's make placeholder as address. Let's put another one, which is the email address right below it. So copy and paste it again. Make it as email address. Here, form control will be email control. And the placeholders will be email. Back. Now, the next, I'm going to be putting the state and city. So for that, just come out of this div. Let's make another div. Sorry. Put a class on it. This student entry from row input section. Let's just change section, and then I'm going to be putting a span. Span will have a class as form group. This will hold one such. Let's just put a label on it. This label will be for state. And here, if you notice, I'm not really putting any input, but I'm basically displaying the state which was selected in the previous drop down above. And in case which is selected or which is written in the previous input box, I'm just going to be displaying the same state over here. In case of a view record, the state will be displayed twice, one at the top of the page and the other one is the bottom of this page right after the address. The state is something that we have already input and we're going to be using the same value over here. So how do we make use of it? First of all, let's assign a class to it, and the class name is going to be label, field label, and then let's just put an interpolation and put a control name. So we are going to be putting get control value. Now we are going to be putting in same field for city. In case of city, we are going to be designing as input type. Just this, remove this as well. This is not going to be a field level, so let's remove this class and put class form control. Right, and now close this as well. And then the control name you're going to be providing as city control. Right, and then this is going to be of type text. There's another input section, just the way we have defined above. And this input section is going to be holding a postal code and country. So let's just put and for postal code. This is again going to be form group. Put this here. Label and an input. The label is for postal code. Close this tag class as form control. Here I'm just going to be displaying a country which I have already input, so not going to be an input type. So let's just make this as a div. Remove this zip control from here, and also this class. This is going to be your field label now. Let's just put this here and also put a closing tag. Right, and now we are going to be quickly seeing if clauses that we have added are correct or not and change it accordingly.